Hope you guys are having a great day. We are in chapter 2 of the book of Galatians in the New Testament. Today we're going to be looking at Paul, and he's writing to this Galatian church, and he's telling a story about when he came into an encounter with Peter. And Peter was acting a certain way towards Gentiles. Now, Peter was Jewish, and Peter was acting like he was all of a sudden better than these Gentiles, than these people that were the chosen people, that they weren't circumcised, or they didn't follow all the customs and the laws of the Jewish people. And Paul couldn't figure out why he was doing this. I mean, he knew that Peter had been set apart, that he was delivered from this, that he wasn't supposed to treat other people like this. But this is the encounter they have. Let's read it. It's Galatians chapter 2, verse 14. And this is Paul when he sees Peter. When I saw that they were not acting in line with the truth of the gospel, I said to Peter in front of them all, "You are a Jew, yet you live like a Gentile, not a Jew. How is it then that you force Gentiles to follow Jewish customs?" It's interesting what he says here, because he says, you're a Jew, you're living like a Gentile, but you're forcing Gentiles to follow Jewish customs. It's almost like he thought he was better than somebody because he was Jewish. And even though he was living not by the law, but he was living by God's grace, that God had already redeemed him, that he had justified him, that he had done a new work in him, that God was doing it, and it was nothing that Peter did or because he was Jewish. But he was treating these Gentile people who weren't Jewish like they weren't as good, like they weren't on as high of a level as Peter was. And you know, one of the big things that we tend to do as Christians is we sometimes tend to look outside the church, and we look at all the people that maybe don't live just like us or do exactly what we do, and we kind of look down on them. And we kind of think, we get this mindset that says, well, if you only would be like me, if you would only do things like me. And you know, that doesn't only follow people who are saved, but who are unsaved, but it also happens to people who are saved. We do it to them if they don't have our exact ideas of what Christ would do, or they have a different viewpoint on stuff. We start to fight, or we start to put them down, or we start to judge them. And Paul is simply looking at Peter, and he's saying, what are you doing? Dude, what's your deal? Who do you think you are? He calls Peter, who walked with Jesus, calls him out. And he says, dude, you're in the wrong. And I want us to think about that today. Maybe some of us are making other people live the way we think they should live, because we think we know what's better. We think we know what's right. And in all truth, all we're doing is judging them. The truth of the matter is this: we are justified because Christ died on the cross for us. It's nothing we do or don't do, but it's everything that Christ does for us.